Hello everybody, welcome to Woo Art. In this video, we are going to make a dark aura effect with Unity. This tutorial uses one simple custom shader. I put a link where you can download the shader and some textures, so don't worry. The process will be like this. Firstly, making meshes. Secondly, making a texture. Lastly, setting up particles. Okay, so let's get started. Let's make meshes first. Create a sphere as a guide. Place it at the center and change the size. Create the helix shape. We are going to wrap up the sphere by this line. Align them and adjust the parameters. It can't be done by the basic parameters only, so just modify the overall size. And add a FFD box modifier. Change the point setting. We need points for the height only. When you press 1, you can modify the points like the object edit mode. Adjust the top and the bottom parts. Okay, create a plane. I'm going to align this plane along the spline. The length segment value should be way bigger than the width. Okay, let's add some more modifiers. You'd better follow the order. The first one is the vertex color. Put an unwrapped UVW next. Put the FFD box. And the last one is the path deform binding. Pick the path and change the axis setting. Move it to the center and stretch. Rotate the plane to make it face outside. Now the meshes look boring because the shape is very steady. Deform it by the FFD box. We're going to use the vertex color through the shader, so we need to paint the vertices. Hide the sphere and paint black color on the both ends of the plane. You have to paint the alpha value, not the color. Because the Unity particle system uses the vertex color channels, RGB values of vertex, to change the color of particles. So we'd rather use the alpha value not to mess up with that. Choose some of vertices and paint them. Okay, it's enough. We need to assign this color to the vertices. Yep, it's done. Let's modify its UV map. For now, it's unwrapped regularly by default. We'd better make it irregular, otherwise it'll look boring. Okay, it's good. Let's export these meshes. I'm going to duplicate this and export the duplicated one. Because it's better off keeping the original for the case that you need to modify these meshes later. Collapse every modifiers in the clone. Export it with the VFX format. Done. Let's make the texture for the meshes. This is the size of the comp. Create a solid layer. And add a fractal noise. Change the parameters. Create an ellipse layer. This layer will be the mask for the noise layer. Change the track matte setting. This is kind of a body of the flame texture, so let's add a tail part. Add a directional blur effect. Okay, create an adjustment layer. Add a turbulent displace effect and a directional blur. Put a simple choker on top of them. Adjust the details. Okay, cool. Create some shapes to make some holes. Duplicate a couple more. Yes, let's add a shape for each head part. Okay, create an adjustment layer. We are going to polish the image. Adjust the values until find the best look. One of my favorite effects is the CC vector blur. You can clean up the image with a little bit of distortion by this effect. Okay, it's slightly better now. Create another comp with the firewall comp. Duplicate the layer. The first layer will be the front part of the texture. Clip out the alpha boundary through the levels effect. Okay, duplicate the bottom layer and move it a little bit down. Flip it horizontally. Adjust the basic parameters. Duplicate the first layer. I'm gonna use it for adding a glow. But the problem is, as you can see here, there are some dark parts. It makes the texture look dirty, so change the blending mode to get rid of that. Pick the add or the screen mode for a bright part, and multiply for the opposite. Okay, it's time to adjust the final detail. Make a new composition for rendering with the firewall comp. We'll animate the texture offset, so adjust its scale. And click the both sides by masking. Change the X value of the mask feather. Put a black layer behind because we don't need an alpha channel for this effect. Okay, export it and move on to Unity. Put the meshes, the texture, and the shader into the Unit Assets folder. Okay, create the new material. And choose the custom shader under the Woo Art category. Drag the fireable texture into the slot. We won't repeat this texture, so change the wrap mode to clamp. Create the particle system. Change the speed, the lifetime, and turn off the shape. Change the render mode to mesh. Put the custom meshes into the mesh parameter, and put the fireable material. You can see some options under the fireable material. Change the render alignment setting. Okay then, as you can see here, nothing is animating now. That's because the shader animates the texture offset by the lifetime of each particle. So you need to pass the lifetime value from the particle to the shader. Turn on the custom vertex stream and add an additional value to 80%. That is animating now. Create a sphere for a guide. Don't forget to reset their transform values. The particles are too small now. Adjust the 3D start rotation and the emission. But for now, the pivot is incorrect. And as you can see here, the shape of the particle is too sharp. So we are going to fix it. Adjust the color before move on. Okay, let's make it nicer. Choose the original object. Adjust the pivot first. Choose the hierarchy tab, click the Effect Pivot Only button, and move the gizmo. Turn off this modifier temporarily, and add an Edit Poly modifier. Give a little bit of volume on the meshes. Okay, this is enough. It looks way better, right? Export the object through the same way as we did. Moving on to the Unity. Okay, it's working properly. Decrease the size value and give a little bit of randomness. And the color should be random as well. I'm going to create a kind of empty particle system and using it as a container. So turn off all parameters and put the previous one into the container. Then you can easily check every particle under this object. Make it prefab. Add another particle system for the gauze. Create a gauze material. Change the shader from the standard to the alpha blended, and put the smoke texture. One for the base black gas and another one for the red gas on top. We don't need a sphere anymore, so hide it. Put the gauze material into this particle system. Press Restart button after adding new particle system. Then you'll see new particles. Hide the red gauze particle for now. Okay, let's change the values. This gas will move slow and steady. Make the rotation random. Change the lifetime and the size as well. Turn on the size of a lifetime and the color of lifetime. Adjust the graph. Change the alpha value of lifetime. Okay, now it looks more like gas. Adjust a little bit more. Since the red gas is almost the same as the black gas, I'm going to copy-paste the setting from the previous one. Okay, adjust the parameters. It looks fine now, but let's change the sorting value just in case. You can do that by the sorting first value. Let's add -10. And decrease our setting, make it smaller, shorter, and slower. I want to change the color of a lifetime. So change the start color to white. Open up the color of a lifetime. Set the colors like this. Create the particle system for the glow. Create the new material as well. Change the shader to additive. Okay, put it into the particle system. I want to add a vertical flare, so check the 3D start size checkbox and change the value like this. Adjust all the values as well. I believe that you already know how to do it. This is very straightforward. Okay, it's fine now. Change the name and duplicate another one for a bigger glow. Increase the size and soften the color. Duplicate one more particle for a subtle glow. Adjust overall values very quickly before making embers. The overall shape of the effect is an oval rather than a sphere, so it'd be nice to change the ratio of the flame effect. Okay, it's better. It's time to add embers. Create a new material. Choose the additive shader and put the ember texture. Press the restart button. Change the render mode to the stretch wheelboard. Change the shape. Set the start speed 0 and turn on the velocity of lifetime. Change the lifetime and the size. Set the velocity values. It should be slowed down over lifetime, so change the setting from the constant to the graph. Let's change the size setting. Increase this value and put a small number into the speed scale. And make it getting smaller over lifetime. Okay, right, change the color. The last thing to add is the noise option. Decrease the strength and increase the frequency and the scroll speed. Okay, it's almost done. Let's adjust overall values. Okay, we made the effect. If you want to change the intensity of color, you can do that by the emissive option. I wish I can explain about the shader in this video, but it might be too big subject to handle, so I do that in the other videos. How about the process? It's not that difficult, right? If you're not sure about anything in the video, please leave a comment. That's more than welcome. Okay, this video ends here. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. See you in the next video. Bye!